How do I explain, age appropriately, to my 7-year-old daughter devastating news? I had a miscarriage at just over 18 weeks. Our bereavement midwife told us to tell my then 3, almost 4-year-old that the baby died. Like others have said, saying that I lost the baby, or the baby was born sleeping, makes no sense to a kid. It has to be clear and definite, so the kid doesn't just think that if kids get lost we just leave them and they can't come back. Be honest, the baby came too early and it died. Babies are supposed to stay inside the mom until they are big enough to live on their own. But this one came out too soon. And it was too small. That happens sometimes and it is not anyone's fault. Everyone is very sad. It is normal to be sad and it's okay to cry. Tell her she can talk to you about her feelings and ask any questions she wants. Sometimes sad things happen, and you may feel sad for a while. She is going to be looking at your reaction to know how to feel. If you are uncomfortable with her expressing her feelings, she will feel that she can't. If you skirt around difficult subjects, she will learn to keep her questions to herself. It's one of the hardest things to do as a parent. My wife and I had to tell our kids about my wife's father passing away when the kids were 8, 6, and 2. But it is an important lesson for the children to learn along with getting the bad news. Death is a fact of life. You don't have to go into detail on the medical reasons for it or even stillbirth. Just sit her down and tell her you have bad news for her. Then tell her that Auntie Sarah's baby had problems and died. She may have questions, even some that you may not know the answers to. It's okay to tell her that you don't know the answer to questions you don't know the answer to. It will break her heart to hear this, being as how excited she was about the baby. But she will be fine. Grieving is something we all have to go through. And you and your wife being there for your daughter as she processes all this, that will help her grieve in a healthy way. I would just tell her that the baby isn't coming anymore and this is a natural thing that happens sometimes and it's no one's fault and everyone is sad about it. If she has questions, I don't think it's inappropriate to answer them. I don't think you should have to lie to children. If they're curious about something, just tell them. We had those family friend neighbors where my brother and I grew up with their sons, and our parents hung out and socialized our entire lives. And when I was probably about your daughter's age, they had a stillbirth. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I remember being told that the baby had died. A very generic explanation of what had happened. In grown-up terms, there was an incompatibility with life, and that she was going to be very sad for a while about it, and if I had any questions or comments, to go to my parents and not the neighbor so it wouldn't accidentally hurt her feelings. I know my mother sent her a card in the immediate aftermath. She'd had multiple miscarriages, and that they discussed later how much it meant to the neighbor to have someone acknowledge it as a dead child and not just go with, "You're young, you can have more, at least you have the 2 older boys," etc. I did a quick Google and it said be direct and avoid euphemisms. They cause fear and confusion. I was 9 when my brother died and I understood quite clearly what happened. I know she's a bit younger than that, but this is the path I would take. My mom had a stillborn when I was 4. Just tell her. She will understand. No sugarcoating BS. Confirming what others have said. Just explain what happened using vocabulary that the child understands. Don't sugarcoat it or try to spin it as not as awful as it is. Your child will be upset. That's okay. It's healthy. Make sure your child knows that it is okay to be upset, and that you are there to help. I don't know how much you have talked about death with your child. If the answer is, not much, then be prepared for the conversation to go into that territory. It's a conversation every parent has to have with their child at some point. The child will probably want to know why it happened, Be honest about that too, but with terms the child can understand. You can also take the time to point out that this is one reason why it is good to have good friends and family to support each other. Lastly, perhaps work with your child to come up with something the child can do to express sympathy to Ada Sarah. This can help divert spiraling thoughts and provide something tangible that the child can control. Making a card or whatever you come up with. With honesty and compassion, you explain that when your friend gave birth, the doctor found out that the baby wasn't alive. Explain that your friend is very sad about this and that you feel sad for your friend. Then give her a big hug and ask her what her questions are. Answer them honestly. My daughter lost her grandfather to cancer when she was 6. We, unfortunately, have had to have a lot of difficult conversations. Best of luck to you. Be very straightforward, because children may not understand euphemisms. Something very sad happened. Auntie Sarah's baby died. It's nobody's fault, but we are all really sad about it. When our second daughter was stillborn, we were very matter-of-fact with our daughter. We explained that sometimes things don't go right and babies die. We let her know it was okay to be sad and told her we could take the extra love we had for the baby and share it with each other and the rest of the family. She took it much better than we expected. Just tell her the truth. Everyone dies, everyone. But unfortunately some people die before they are born. And that right now Aunt Sarah needs all the hugs she can spare. My mother told me when she came home from the hospital. She said there isn't going to be a baby. I think I was 5 years old. I really didn't understand it but accepted it. My heart goes out to your wife's friend. I once worked at a school where the first grade teacher gave birth to a very early preemie who lived only a couple days. She was a beloved teacher, and her students were excited about her pregnancy. The school nurse and counselor talked to the class. They explained that the baby was born too soon, and doctors tried their best to save him but weren't successful. They told the class that their teacher would be away for a few weeks to help her mind and body heal. Most importantly, they stayed and answered students' questions to the best of their knowledge based on what the teacher had given permission to share. If you know the medical diagnosis, it's a good idea to prepare for questions your daughter might have about it. I hate all the euphemisms around death. People and pets die, and when that happens they are dead. I think we should face that fact in the language we use. I would explain that there was a problem with the pregnancy, that the baby got sick inside her and died before it could be born. I would also explain that sometimes that happens. It isn't anyone's fault, and Auntie is very sad about it. Do it honestly and succinctly with no euphemisms. You don't need details about early labor or anything. She went to the hospital to have the baby, but the baby was a kind of sick that babies sometimes get when they live in their mother's tummy. The doctors couldn't fix it and the baby died. Talk about how it's okay to be sad. Talk about how everyone is sad they won't get to meet the baby. Talk about how sad your friend is and how much she misses her baby. Before you see your friend with her, make sure she knows what to say. If your friend is having a memorial of some sort, go with your daughter to pick out a gift and leave it with the baby or somewhere appropriate. If you're religious, include any information about the afterlife. Even if you're not, kids pick up a surprising amount of stuff about heaven at school and daycare, so be prepared for questions about that. When I miscarried, my daughter was 5 and very excited to be a big sister. We told her the baby had died, but I was very sad but physically okay. Just needed to rest for a few days. We answered all her questions and cried together. She did worry a bit about us dying after she realized more about death not just happening to really Old people like her great-grandpa. We just discussed it and reassured her as she brought things up. I remember her asking me to promise, we will die in the same moment, as she didn't want me to die first, and I told her I didn't want her to die first. Kids can handle the truth if we are supportive. Don't go into details they are too young for. Yet answer their sometimes odd questions freely. I told my 6-year-old his brother passed away. I don't like died, but he still tells people his brother died. They are plain and simple. They do not beat around the bush. So do get used to their reaction too. They will talk about it, tell people they don't know, and say often how much they miss them. It was my stillborn's son's birthday Monday just gone, and he told everyone. They do not have filters. Little girls are different in their approach, but they are still as blunt, so a learning curve for both sides. Somehow my 6-year-old knows that dying means you'll never see them again. I didn't teach her that, but it was useful when it came to telling her that my dad died. I just told her he died and we are all feeling sad that we won't see him again. She had lots of questions, but mostly she wanted to know if he was lonely now. We're not religious, so I said he wouldn't be lonely because he doesn't feel anything anymore. She accepts that and the idea that we keep him with us by talking about him. We do that lots, and it's lovely to hear her memories of him.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.